So as Brad said, my name is Joe Sylve. I'm the Director of Research and Development at Black Bag Technologies. I'm going to talk about some work that we've done to integrate APFS support into the Sleuthkit framework. I was going to say that this might be a little bit of an awkward talk for me, but I'm not in a Santa suit, so I'm not going to say that anymore. But the overview here is that we've got pretty much full support for APFS and TSK, but the awkward part is that I can't give it to you yet. The Black Bag has been very nice in agreeing to allow me to release the work. It's just going to be released soon because our commercial competitors haven't really come close yet. But I would say 6 months. But what we will immediately be doing is releasing our pool storage implementation, and which relates to Jen Martin's paper with the DFRWS and their paper from last year with the ZFS. While their work was pretty awesome, their implementation is mostly wrapped around all of the command line tools, whereas our pool storage is actually in the framework itself. So we're going to be working with those guys in the coming weeks to actually get that stuff compatible with our pool storage layer that's in the framework and push all of that upstream. So that'll come first, and then the APFS stuff will get to you. So what can we do? We can do most things. We can fully parse the APFS containers. The containers are just the APFS terminology for the pools. We can fully parse all the file system data and metadata that you would expect and that you would want, including compressed and sparse files, encrypted files, whether that encryption is the native APFS encryption or devices that have been upgraded from core storage from HFS Plus, because APFS, if you have HFS Plus system under most conditions and you upgrade to Mac OS 10.13, your file system, whether you know it or not, is probably now not an HFS Plus file system, but it is an APFS file system, because these things automatically get upgraded. The encryption works a little bit different in those scenarios. And we're also now able to parse through the snapshots. APFS takes snapshots if you have Time Machine on hourly on your system. They don't stick around for a whole long time, and that really kind of rule of thumb is, on average, you'll have a snapshot for every hour for the last 24 or so hours. So that's not like a volume shadow copy that's going to stick around pretty much forever until you delete it or run out of space. But I think it would be useful in the scenarios where you're kicking down the door and someone's deleting all their files. And what we're still currently working on is support for analysis of the new iMac Pro and now the new MacBook Pro and maybe another one of the others of their higher-end systems. Because Apple is really focused on security and privacy these days, which, personally it's a good thing. Professionally, makes my life a little bit more difficult. But these devices come with actually a hardware T2 chip, which has two mechanisms. One is they have interfaceable storage, where the key bags that have all the encrypted keys for the first step of the decryption are not stored on the disk like they are with most APFS. Well, they're stored on the physical hard drive, but they're not stored on which you would read the media from the disk. They're actually stored on the chip. So we're able to now extract that information from the chip and pass it to the chip itself for decryption. But there's still some steps there that we haven't quite worked out yet. And the Apple guys did not let me get them drunk while they were here, so I'm still working. And additionally, we do not have full support for Fusion drives, mostly because Apple's implementation of this hasn't seemed to stabilize yet. They don't even have it enabled by default, but I'm told that will change with the next version. So right now, if you do somehow come across a device that is a Fusion drive, you can still analyze it by imaging the APFS container, the logical container, which would be the logical concatenation of the two different physical partitions. But if you have a dead drive that you can't boot up the system and you have to image both physical sectors individually, we're going to be working on gluing those things together in pool storage. So obviously Sleuthkit doesn't support pooled file systems, so we had to make a few framework changes, and luckily the framework changes are fairly minimal. So if you're using Sleuthkit in your tools, there's only a few things this new version you would have to know how to do. So first, we've added a pool storage layer, and this sits between the volume system layer and the file system layer. And it has pretty much the set of APIs that you would expect from Sleuthkit. These are very, very similar to the API calls for the file system layer. However, this layer is optional. You don't have to actually open up a pool layer for devices that don't have a pool layer, for instance. So, you have your calls. We have various open calls where you're giving it a disk or shortcuts or, whatever, close. TSK pool read is pretty much the same as TSK FS read, but you're reading from a pool block rather than the image block. Getting the unallocated runs, because in pool storage systems, because the individual volumes themselves can grow and shrink based off of the uses, the file system itself doesn't generally have an allocated space associated with it. Right? The unallocated space now belongs to the pool, so we need to have a way at the pool layer of collecting all these unallocated blocks that we can carve through. And, yada, yada, yada. The rest of the stuff is what you would expect. Very few changes to the file system layer, pretty much just a different open command. Just like right now you have the TSK FS image open, if you have just a volume image, or FS VS open or vol open or whatever it happens to be if you do have a volume. There's a special command, special function to call to open a pool, a file system that happens to be on pool volume. So there are a few new dependencies, and I would be interested to know if these would be a problem for anyone. The actual implementation itself is written in variant C++, a reasonably modern variant, C++ 14, because we should not be programming like it's 1998. But of course, there's the C API wrapper around it, so you don't need to have C++ support to use it. However, this does, I've already heard that it has potential issues with PyTSK as for whatever reason, how it has it compiling. It requires Visual Studio 2008 for Python 2007, and obviously Visual Studio 2008 does not have support for C++ standard that came out in 2014. So I would be very interested in exploring workarounds from this. I think it can be done with just without a static binding of the Python runtime, but we'll see. The Python 2.7 is supposed to die eventually. Because we support encryption, there's a new dependency on OpenSSL. I'm not rolling my own crypto. If you have any better suggestions or reasons why OpenSSL should not be a requirement of the Sleuthkit, I would be interested in hearing from you. So future work that needs to still be done. We don't use internally the Java or the Python bindings, so those are going to need to be updated. Visual Studio compilation, it's probably just a matter of changing the project, the Visual Studio project files. We cross compile everything with MGW for Windows, so I didn't even bother opening up Visual Studio. So that's probably just like an afternoon's worth of work. And the large thing here is that we will be working with the authors and porting the existing ZFS and BTRFS implementations into a pool storage layer and getting those actually upstream. So Sleuthkit will work on more file systems for everyone. I guess for now, the marketing team would want me to say that if you want to parse APFS volumes, you can get a license in Blacklight. So let's do some live demos because those always work out nicely. Even better, I forgot my images, so I'm going to be analyzing my running disk. So that'll be fun. All right, so the tooling has also been updated, the command line tools. Obviously, we needed to add some tool to iterate release, get information about the pools themselves. So there's, and I know this is sort of conflicting to the other tools that John and then would put out, but you know, maybe we'll come up with something that works for everyone. So there's a PStat tool, and you can give it, you can give it a raw disk image, but in this case I'm giving it a disk. And this is going to give you information about the pools and the different pool volumes. So, nope. Nope. Why not? Oh, yeah, our disk. Nope. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing this on a disk, of course. A disk image and not the container. So first we need to do that. So just like, you know, regular Sleuthkit, you have your disk itself, your physical disk is still going to be partitioned into physical partitions. But one of these partitions is going to be used for the pool, and again, if it's a Fusion drive, you're going to have more than one partition. So our tools still use the -O as you would expect. So PStat, now that I've given it the correct offset, it's going to give me information about the general pool, right? So generalized information about the container. This is the APFS specific information, but I imagine there's reasonable analog for most pool file storage systems. And the breakdown of the different volumes that are on the system. Here's the, you know, here's our main volume, Mac SSD. You know, the encryption. These are the wrapped encryption keys. But there are multiple different volumes here. You can see this is two. There are actually 4 different volumes. So once we decide which volume we would like to analyze, the important thing here that you need to remember is this. Okay, so this is our main volume, the volume block number, right? Because we have a pool storage system, all the different pooled different volumes are going to be pulling from different blocks. So these aren't contiguous, right? So you can't just say that it's going to be block 0 is where the file system starts. So every different volume among these file systems is probably going to have like one master block that's the starting point. So we need to know that starting point. So I'm going to copy that. And then if I do, you know, your regular FS stat, I'm going to be able to pass this as a new command line option with a uppercase B. Hopefully that didn't seem to conflict with any of the other tools. So, you know, oh yeah, but this is encrypted, so you need to give it a password. So there's a new -K for your key. And luckily, I don't have to show everyone my password here on the command line because APFS, all you need is the password of any user on the system or the recovery key to decrypt it. So I created a new user. The password is not my password. So I don't have to show everyone. No, why? This is a running system. I bet you the file system block has changed since I was talking. It did. Yeah, okay. So copy on write file systems, overwrite data very often, remember that. So now that we're able to do this number, this is actually decrypted, so it's also going to give me information about the unwrapped passwords. And here's also all the different snapshots that are on that volume. So I'm going to copy this for later. And then of course FLS is going to work as you would expect. You know, all the different tools, ICAT, FLS, all that stuff works. This is the most, if you don't give it any other options, this is going to be the active volume. And if you want to parse the file system state at the time of a snapshot, there's a new capital S flag as well. And that's just, trust me, that's from the parsing of the snapshot. You all know how Sleuthkit works, so I don't have to go any farther. It's largely unchanged after that. It's just the few other flags that you need to pass for information for the decryption password in the block of the snapshot. So that being said, are there any questions other than when are you going to release this? Because I can't answer that right now.
How about a round of applause for questions?
Great. That works for me.
Well, thanks once again, Stuart. And next up, we have Daryl to chair the